Hello everyone. At the outset, let me thank ICTE and Open Polytechnic New Zealand for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today at this virtual ICTE Leadership Summit 2021. My special thanks are to Mark Nichols and his team for putting together the program and managing the logistics. The theme of the conference is Leadership for Responsiveness. Are we flexible enough? My presentation will take this theme forward and provide a framework to measure flexible learning in organizations. Leaders can do self-audit and take appropriate actions based on the framework. I have three specific areas for my presentation. First, I will provide a context as to how flexible learning is important in today's world to provide access to lifelong learning opportunities for all. Second, I'll provide an overview of flexible learning in practice. And third, I'll present the practical framework of measuring flexible learning in institutions. First, the context. Tertiary education enrollment is a key indicator of development. The world average is about 40%, while it is below 10% in sub-Saharan Africa. Many Commonwealth countries also have below 20% enrollment of the relevant age group in higher education. ICT has been playing a critical role in education, especially during the pandemic. However, there is a huge disparity in access to ICTs around the world. While mobile penetration is more than 100%, internet access is only about 51%. Also, we should consider that the world average is not an indicator of access in the Pacific countries or for that matter in countries in Africa. The access to computer, mobile and internet is a key issue, and several experts and agencies these days call for internet as a human right. Access to learning resources is a challenge for many students. In the United States, students spend on an average US dollar 1200 per year. Over 5.2 million students use financial aid to purchase their textbooks. About 65% students inform that their grades are affected due to non-purchase of relevant textbooks. In Bangladesh, higher education students on an average spend about 1,850 Bangladesh taka per year for books and supplies. In Malaysia, over 76% learners decided not to buy textbooks due to high cost. In a recent study on access to learning resources in the Commonwealth, we found that learners are spending way above their affordability on textbooks. For example, in St. Lucia, the average spending on textbook is about 700 Eastern Caribbean dollars. Skill shortage is yet another problem being faced by many countries. Convinced that higher education leads to higher earnings and social mobility, most governments have invested heavily in higher education. But even where there is increased access to tertiary education, it is not necessarily a passport to employment. A recent study indicated about 45% employers cannot find skilled individuals to recruit. Automation of jobs is challenging the employment landscape as well. Therefore, youth unemployment in some Commonwealth countries are currently exceptionally high. The pandemic has further worsened this situation. What do we need to do differently to make our youth ready for employment and entrepreneurship? Overall, we are grappling with some serious global educational challenges: increasing access to higher education, improving quality, reducing gender inequality, reducing unemployment, and providing lifelong and life-wide learning opportunities to all. On the top of these challenges, COVID-19 has further identified our lack of preparedness in terms of technology access in many institutions, teacher capacities, and growing inequalities due to over-reliance on information and communication technologies. Overall, the context provides an opportunity to rethink education. However, are we ready for change? Where is the thinking to shift from the business as usual? There has been a focus on reopening rather than rethinking currently. Professor Ronald Barnett presents a framework for classifying universities based on how knowledge is created and distributed. Accordingly, we have ivory tower institution at one end and open and distance teaching universities in the other, providing access to knowledge in a more flexible manner. We know that open distance learning institutions have seen 5 stages of development, but it is not necessary that all institutions are now in the 5th stage. Several are still in stage 3 or stage 4. The key here is, of course, that the open and distance learning models ingrained the concept of flexibility, and they provide the learners necessary flexibility to pursue teaching and learning at their own pace and time. The idea of flexibility can be actually traced back to Lord Crowther, who in the context of openness articulated that open university is open to people, places, methods, and ideas. In practice, flexibility can be included in distance teaching universities as well as traditional face-to-face institutions, dual mode institutions, by reducing rigidities of the conventional approaches to teaching and learning. Some of the examples of flexibility are providing open entry without uh, restrictions or irrespective of any qualification for that matter, permitting students to study anywhere, anytime, and having free choice of courses to be taken as a program of study. Many of these conditions are possibly can be included in conventional face-to-face teaching institutions as well. I have extended the flexibility options by reviewing the literature in the field and present 10 dimensions to measure the flexibility in our institutions. First, entry requirements. Entry requirement could range from completely uh, closed entry to open entry. Within that continuum, an institution can be rated in a scale of 1 to 10, where they fit based on number of courses that allow anyone to join without enforcing rigidity of entry requirements. Second, learning space could range from anywhere learning to a fixed location. Some universities have multiple locations, providing options to learners to choose the location, and such institutions may fall in between. Third, time to study is related to how the teaching is structured. Does it require a specific schedule, or learners can complete study asynchronously? Even in online education provisions, more use of synchronous learning could lead to lower score here. Next, The curricular options are available to learner is an important item that needs to be checked for flexibility. University courses are often used in combinations to offer programs. The level of flexibility provided to learners to decide what to study would be covered in this domain. Some programs have no option, while others provide open choice to design the curriculum. Such curricular flexibility would require more logistical issues for administration, but it is worth considering. The pedagogical approach adopted in courses would vary due to the nature of the subject and the comfort level of the teacher to adopt innovations. However, in this framework, I am proposing how students and teachers collaborate or engage to construct meaning and learning. So courses and programs in an institution may be classified in a range of 1 to 10, with lectures dominated courses as 1 to courses with highly collaborative learning designs as 10. The next important aspect is technology, which is more like administrative aspect rather than educational delivery or pedagogical issues. However, technology could influence flexibility of a course in terms of access and equity. Thus, I prefer to use open source tools to provide access to teaching and learning with limited use of proprietary tools that the students needs to buy. Many institutions buy proprietary softwares for the students, the cost of which in turn are passed on to students as tuition fees. The use of proprietary and openly licensed resources in teaching and learning is a key flexible option. We know that cost of learning material has impact on the decision to enroll in a course. Using educational resources that are openly licensed or OER can lead to zero textbook cost and increase flexibility for learners. Higher education assessment institutions focus on assessment as a key indicator for quality. It is the bedrock of trust of the society on the higher education system. However, assessment has become more rigid over the time as institutions focus on term end examination and pen and paper tests. There is normally no flexibility given to learners to choose amongst a variety of ways available to assess student learning outcomes. How flexible is your assessment system? Are you ready to provide different options? For example, for a research degree, there are two routes to get. Normally, one is a research route and another is a publication route. Can the students take tests as an on-demand activity? Whenever they are ready, they can come. And can these lead to provide multiple pathways of entering into different programs and so on and so forth? Then comes the issue of credential. What a student receives at the end of a course of study is a credential. Is this recognized globally, or the qualification is more suitable for a local context? This is probably not so important in a national context, but as the world is becoming more and more global, recognition of degree credential elsewhere without difficulty is a key component of flexibility. This also means the provision to permit accumulation of credentials for receiving recognized degrees. And last but not the least is cost in the framework of flexibility. High and low cost can be a relative concept in different economies. One end is totally free of cost and the other is high cost. For educational institutions, courses and offering certificates can never be totally free of cost. However, calculating the cost as high or low can be done considering how much of the total cost of delivery is subsidized. The more subsidy a course receives, the less cost it is to the learner. To give an example, I have taken a hypothetical institution and scored according to the 10 dimensions, where the minimum score could be 10 and the maximum 100. In this case, the hypothetical institution has received a score of 57, which can be interpreted as moderately flexible. I hope the flexibility framework would be useful. Thank you for your attention.